Well, as Hurricane Florence barrels towards the East Coast, President Donald Trump is claiming the official death toll attributed to Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico is not real. In a series of tweets this morning, the president wrote 3,000 people did not die in the two hurricanes that hit Puerto Rico. He went on to claim that some Democrats made up the number in order to make him look bad. He didn't provide any evidence, though, and it's not clear which Democrats he was actually referring to. Puerto Rico's governor last month raised the official Hurricane Maria death toll from 64 to nearly 3,000. That was because of an independent study which found the number of people who died in its aftermath was severely undercounted. The study did not include those who died of old age. As the president suggested, Puerto Rico's governor responded to the president's tweets today right here on CBSN.
Neither the people of Puerto Rico nor the victims deserve their pain to be questioned. We went through a rigorous scientific process. We externalized the investigation so that it was an independent investigation. The value of the investigation was very good. It was very robust. And therefore, that's why I decided to take the initiative to establish as the official death toll number, the 2,975.
Anita Kumar is a White House correspondent for McClatchy News. Anita, the president made these claims without providing any sort of evidence. As far as we know, his accusations have no fact. Break this down for us. How are members of his own administration responding? Are they talking about this?
We haven't actually heard very much from them yet. It hasn't been very long. But no, he didn't provide any basis for any evidence at all. And this is, he often does this, where he says something on Twitter, which is obviously pretty short, as you know, and he doesn't actually explain what he's talking about. So we've seen no evidence of this. Democrats and Republicans have praised the study that was done and have thought that it was accurate. You heard, Republicans on Capitol Hill. You heard Democrats saying that they believe this study.
So, Anita, the president has gotten traction before by spreading fake news, conspiracy theories. Do you get the sense that this could actually catch on?
I'm not sure. I think a lot of people right now are paying attention to the new hurricane and feel like this was such a distraction when people in the Carolinas and Georgia are already just starting to feel the effects of this hurricane. It was poor timing all around because we need to move on and deal with that, and so does the federal government.
It's just so difficult when you're talking about the days after a hurricane and presidential response, federal response. Is this a way sort of to make Democrats look bad before we have to deal with the aftermath of the hurricane damage?
Sure. I mean, the president has been trying, obviously, since day one to make the Democrats look bad, which is, somewhat of a normal thing for the opposition party. They are bickering and arguing. A lot of people outside politics would argue this is not the time to do that, as the country is facing a natural disaster. So, some of this is normal. The timing probably is not good. And we are in the middle of a campaign for the midterms. And so there's a lot of politics going on.
The president also claimed that he was successfully raising billions of dollars to help rebuild. Do you know what he was referring to there, Anita?
I actually don't, and I was baffled at that. So there's two things that he could be meaning. One, he could actually literally be meaning that he was raising money. I've heard nothing about that. I've heard no reporting on him raising money for charity or anything like that. The second thing is obvious, that the president has to go to Congress and ask for money when there is a disaster, ask for Congress to pay for the bills. That's how our system of government works. He was asked the other day about, if the federal government felt that the federal government has enough money to pay for this new hurricane. And he did mention how he is always going to Congress and asking for money for these natural disasters, and that they will be generous and have been generous because they need to be. They need to help rebuild the United States when a disaster occurs. So I could only assume that's what he's referring to.
I want to play some reaction for you from House Speaker Paul Ryan. He's talking about the president's tweets this morning.
Casualties don't make a person look bad. That's not. So I have no reason to dispute these numbers. I was in Puerto Rico after the hurricane. It was devastated. This was a horrible storm. I toured the entire island, and it's an isolated island that lost its infrastructure and its power for a long time. You couldn't get to people for a long time on the island because roads were washed out, power was gone, and the casualties mounted for a long time. So I have no reason to dispute those numbers.
Why hasn't Congress investigated this and what happened in Puerto Rico, and is there a chance that they could actually take it up?
Sure. Well, the Democrats accuse the Republicans of not investigating or not engaging in meaningful investigation. I saw today that many Republicans on Capitol Hill from various committees, including the Oversight Committee, House Oversight Committee, are pushing back on that notion and saying they've held many hearings, have reviewed records, have been in touch with FEMA, and that they are conducting oversight. I think the question is, or sort of the discrepancy there is, the Democrats say it's not meaningful, it's not hard enough, it's not accountable enough, and the Republicans say that they have and are continuing to do what they need to do. Now, if the Democrats take control of the House, you can bet that this is one of the many things that they will be looking at. I've heard a whole laundry list of things that they want to investigate the administration for, and this is right at the top of the list.
I want to go back for a second to Hurricane Florence. Anita, the president says the government is completely ready. Is there a sense coming from Washington corridors as to whether or not they really do believe that and feel that the preparations are underway?
Right. Well, the president had a couple, I think he has something on his schedule today regarding the hurricane. He also had a briefing from the Department of Homeland Security Secretary and also the FEMA director the other day. Some reporters were invited into after that meeting, and I was actually one of those people. And they talked a little bit about what they've done. The federal government says they've sent 4,000 federal employees to the areas that are supposed to be affected. 1,000 of them are FEMA employees. So that's, quite a large number. Obviously, the states and state government are also working, and so are private companies like, power companies and that sort of thing. The president does seem to be, wanting us to think that he's very involved in this and that he's on top of it. He did cancel 2 trips that he had scheduled for Thursday and Friday that were campaign related to stay and monitor the storm. The vice president also canceled a trip to stay here and monitor the storm as well. So, this is what is generally done by presidents and vice presidents before a storm, but it's sort of unclear exactly how the storm will affect the area and exactly what needs to be done after.
Yeah, so true. Anita Kumar, thank you for joining us, Anita.
Sure, thank you.